For a very long time, video games were not seen as art. Most considered them to be no more than a toy, and usually, the only ones who took the medium seriously were hobbyists and developers. The average person just seemed to not care, looking at things like film, music, and books for their source of artistic culture. I know this seems ridiculous now, but at the time, could you blame them? The most popular games used to all just be cash grabs, aiming to make the most coins possible at an arcade. No one had really stepped up to the plate to change this. It seemed like an uphill battle, and no one wanted to climb it. Well, that was until one company decided enough was enough. That company's name was Artifact Studios, and the game they created changed everything. To really examine Garfield Kart, we need to take a look at the history of the Garfield brand. As you probably know, Garfield started out as a graphic novel in the 1970s. Jim Davis used the story as a means to reflect contemporary anxieties and to deconstruct and parody the superhero concept. Davis wanted Garfield to be a more dark and gritty version of the superheroes people were so used to. The graphic novel delved into subjects never before explored by superhero comics, such as the Holocaust, homelessness, and homosexuality. It was also one of the first places to feature an image of the Muslim prophet Muhammad. It is no surprise that Garfield sparked a lot of controversy around the world, causing the graphic novel's publisher, Ubisoft, to drop it altogether. Jim Davis tried to fight the end of Garfield, but as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, it seemed like it was an end of an era. Garfield became no more than a distant memory. Fast forward to the 90s. Televisions were becoming more accessible, rock music had just hit its stride, and the creation of the telephone had made mail a thing of the past. The world was more radical, and a new generation of consumers were aching for something twisted and different. And someone was paying attention. Jim Davis saw this need, and decided to re-release the old Garfield graphic novels himself, but this time with a twist. Along with the re-release, he was going to make a tie-in movie. He cast Bill Murray into the role, and seeing as Murray was just getting big due to the Ghostbusters movies, it totally made sense. The story goes that Jim Davis didn't look at any reviews for the movie for a whole week, but when he finally went to check Rotten Tomatoes, he was shocked. A new age dawned on humanity. The age of Garfield. During this artistic revolution, the president of Artifact Studios, Edward Snowden, was inspired. If Garfield could be this artistic explosion for graphic novels, why couldn't it also do the same thing for video games? Edward called up Jim Davis and told him the idea. let's make Garfield into a game and call it Garfield Kart. The plan was simple. Create a game with actual artistic merit, but enhance it with the Garfield logo, so that people would actually buy it. The end result would hopefully be a profound increase in society's respect for the medium of video games. When the game was announced, people were shocked. Most were optimistic, but real gamers wondered if this feat was possible. Could a game like this really be made? Would it really be as good as everyone thought it would be? Was it really possible to create a game that's art feels dead and lifeless? That looks like it was created in one afternoon with no imagination? Could it be possible to create a racing game with only 16 tracks, 3 of which are desert tracks? Will the tracks seem to just circle around 16 times with little to no creativity used to design them? If a game was really art, it would need to have a horrible generic soundtrack that only has a few repeating notes. Could Garfield Kart really be that? Would they really be able to do service to all the classic and loved characters of the Garfield lore? Many told the developers that they would only buy the game if it ran poorly on computers and was horribly optimized. They needed to know if Garfield Kart could do that. And the biggest question of all, that everyone had on their mind was, would the game be able to be boring? Could it truly pull that off? The answer to all these questions was a resounding yes. Now, I do want to talk about one of the game's negatives. I think it's only fair. When I bring up cost, I am not referring to the price of the game, as the game only cost me $1. What I mean by cost is the emotional cost. Garfield Kart is the most emotionally draining experience I have ever had, and to really make clear what I mean by that, I needed to tell you my personal involvement with the game. You see, it was only about a month and a half ago when I first played Garfield Kart. I wanted to make a video on an influential game and decided it was about time I gave it a shot. Things were fine when I started up the menu. At first, I didn't know what all the stories were about. I had no idea what people meant when they said this game is twisted. That changed when I started the first race. You see, I forgot to put on a boost during the character selection, and this is how the game reminded me. Shame. I immediately shut off my computer and backed away from my desk. Shame? I thought to myself, is that what I should fear? The depression hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt paralyzed. The fear that I had no worth, that there was no reason I should be alive. A week had gone by and I hadn't left the house. My mother was concerned, so she had me go see a therapist. It didn't work. Nothing did. Thoughts of suicide started to enter my mind. How could I live with this shame? About a month went by and I hadn't done anything. I barely ate, only left the house to see my therapist, no longer talked to my friends, no longer made any videos. The worst part was, I fully accepted that I was worthless. I didn't care anymore. I decided I would just rot away content with the place I was. Even if I could escape this black hole, I didn't want to. That's when my brother suggested that we see the new Suicide Squad movie. He wouldn't stop pestering me about it, so I finally gave in. I remember thinking that I would probably just catch some sleep in the theater. But when I sat down, I couldn't.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
The movie was unlike anything I had ever seen. It was so deep, twisted, and dark. Suicide Squad understood me. After the movie, I did a little research and learned about the actor that played the Joker, Jared Leto. Apparently he sent dead rats to his co-stars. That's when I realized Jared Leto was way more dark and twisted than I was. He knew real pain that I couldn't even imagine, and as hard as I tried, I couldn't put myself in his shoes. I thought that I knew pain. I thought that I knew suffering. I was wrong. And I was saved. Garfield Kart's emotional cost may have provided me with the worst month of my life, but it also provided me with the strength and the courage to face my fears. The game helped me understand the true value of the self and made me appreciate how lucky I was to not be like Jared Leto. It is shocking to no one that the game industry is full of cash grabs, shovelware, games that have no soul or any care that goes into their development, games that give their own medium a bad name. The industry has become full of false promises, creating pessimistic consumers that only want one thing: to experience a platform for art that is important to them. We are constantly being betrayed. Broken ports, on-disc downloadable content, downgraded games. The industry is broken, catering to the lowest common denominator. It's disgusting. Every game becomes the same. Every game cover becomes the same. Carbon copies of things more successful. Developers have refused to innovate. But one game, one gem, one work of art shines through that shit-stained video game industry. One game has the courage to keep moving forward, to lead and let others copy. And it's about goddamn time we gave that game some respect. I give Suicide Squad a 10 out of 10. Hello, I hope you like this video. I know I haven't been around for a long time, but seeing as I only have like 12 subscribers, I don't think it was a big deal to a lot of people. That being said, this was a lot of fun to make, and I'm really glad that I'm back, and I plan on doing a lot more stuff. I really do enjoy this. I decided that I want to kind of hear from more people that are watching my videos, because sometimes I get even more than 50 views, and I only get 1 or 2 comments from sometimes the same people. So I decided to do a contest. I want you guys to write a haiku in the comments section, a haiku about Garfield, and I'm going to read all of them and pick my favorite in a separate video. And I think it's going to be fun, and the winner will get a little prize that I haven't decided yet. So try to be the best basically, so you get the little prize. And I'm not expecting more than 4 or 5, so if you post, you probably have a good chance of winning actually. Anyway, thank you, and I'll see you next time.